Code 9. After the death or retirement of the deputy, the new deputy must be chosen before moon high. It may seem callous to cats like you that a new deputy is named over the body of the old one. Would you prefer to grieve for one cat before passing your loyalties to another? As you are about to see, dwelling in the past is not a luxury warrior cats have. We must face the future. The time for mourning will come. A sign from StarClan. Red Scar studied the spluttering, hunched cat in front of him and shook his head. You can't go to the Moonstone today, Bright Whisker. You wouldn't make it as far as the Thunderpath. Bright Whisker paused to gulp in air and then protested. But I have to go. I have to receive my 9 lives and my new name from StarClan. StarClan will be perfectly aware of how sick you are, Red Scar pointed out. They won't want you to exhaust yourself so soon. Your clan needs you whole and well. They've already accepted you as their leader. The brown and white she-cat's eyes clouded. They mourn for Snowstar as much as I do. I wish I was still his deputy. Snowstar will be mourned for many moons, but that can't stop us from doing our duty. And yours, Red Scar added, is to get rid of this white cough, so that you can be fit and strong to lead your clan. Are you sure it's white cough? Could it be green cough, like Snowstar had? It's white cough, definitely, Red Scar meowed. Now lie down and rest. But I need to appoint a deputy, too, Bright Whisker protested, lapsing into a fit of coughing. It can wait until you can do it without coughing in their face. I'll bring you some tansy to soothe your chest and a poppy seed to help you sleep. When he returned, Bright Whisker was curled in her nest, her flank rising and falling evenly. She didn't stir, so he decided not to wake her. He left the tansy leaves and the poppy seed beside a clump of moss soaked with water. Stretching the stiffness from his legs one paw at a time, he picked his way across the rutted, half-frozen clearing and headed for his nest of crow feathers and dry bracken. Darkness claimed him as soon as he closed his eyes. Red Scar! Red Scar, come quickly! Red Scar shot out of his nest and pushed his way into the open. Flower Stem was staring at him as if all the foxes in the forest were on her tail. I can't wait, Bright Whisker! She wailed. Every hair on Red Scar's pelt stood on end. He'd left her only 1 poppy seed, barely enough for a whole night's sleep. Come see! Flower Stem pleaded. But Red Scar was already pushing past her, heading for the leader's den. It was dark inside, and Red Scar had to blink and wait impatiently for his eyes to adjust. Slowly he made out Bright Whisker's sleeping shape. She didn't seem to have moved since he last checked on her. Oh, StarClan, don't let her be dead. Red Scar pushed his nose into her neck fur, but there was no sign of the telltale throb of life beneath the skin, and her fur was as cold as frost. Red Scar? Flower Stem was standing in the entrance to the den. He turned to her and shook his head. Another leader had died before she'd had a chance to receive her 9 lives. Oh no! Flower Stem wailed. A tortoiseshell head appeared behind her. What's wrong? Oh, Mossfire! Flower Stem turned to face her littermate. Bright Whisker's dead! Red Scar padded out of the den, his paws heavy as stone. She must have developed green cough in the night. She died in her sleep. Mossfire stared at him. But she never chose a deputy. Who will be our leader now? Red Scar knew he had to help his clan find a way out of this terrible darkness. I'll call the cats together. He chose to stay on the ground rather than stand on the fallen log that the leaders had used to address the clan. Bright Whisker had taken her place there only once, to greet her clan for the first time since Snowstar's death. A fit of coughing had stopped her, and Red Scar had ordered her back to her den. I should have known it was green cough. There must have been something else I could have done. Like let her appoint a deputy? A small voice inside him challenged. Red Scar pushed it away. Cats of Shadow Clan! Bright Whisker is dead. There will be a time to grieve for her, But first we must choose a new leader. Are there any cats who wish to volunteer?" His clanmates shifted restlessly and there were worried murmurs, but no cat spoke out until Jumpfoot stepped forward. His muscles rippled under his black pelt, and his green eyes were somber. "I will lead Shadow Clan if my clanmates wish it." There were several yowls of approval, but some murmurs of disagreement.
"We think Mossfire should be leader," called one of the queens. "Jumpfoot is too quick to go into battle. We want peace for our kits."
Mossfire walked forward to stand beside Jumpfoot. She dipped her head to Redscar. "My clanmates honor me, and I would be willing to be their leader." "Not all of them want you," snarled Jumpfoot. "Who'd want a clan full of cowards too frightened to defend their borders?" "Not rushing into every battle doesn't make me a coward," Mossfire retorted. "I could fight as well as you any day." "Prove it," Jumpfoot challenged. "This is no way to choose a leader," Flowerstem cried. Jumpfoot glared at her. "We'll fight, and whichever cat Star Clan favors will be victorious." Flowerstem looked pleadingly at Redscar, but he felt frozen. What was happening to his clan? Jumpfoot and Mossfire started circling each other. The other cats moved back to give them more room. Mossfire struck first, with an easy swipe that Jumpfoot sprang away from with a contemptuous hiss. "You'll have to do better than that." "Very well," spat Mossfire, and she leaped at him, front legs outstretched, claws glinting in the frosty sun. She raked a set of scratches into Jumpfoot's flank, leaving scarlet beads of blood. With a yowl, Jumpfoot spun around and slashed at her face, then sank his claws into her shoulder and rolled her onto the ground, pummeling at her with his hind legs. Redscar turned away. He could not believe StarClan wanted two warriors to fight like this in order to lead their clan. He winced as he heard Mossfire gasp with pain and the sound of ripping fur as she retaliated. There was a thud as Jumpfoot went down, and a gasp from the watching cats. Then another, softer thud as Mossfire crumpled beside him. "Mossfire! No!" That was Flowerstem. The stench of blood told Redscar what he would see. He turned around. The two cats were lying still as their lives ebbed away from blows struck too close, too hard. Redscar felt numb. He had failed again. 3 elders were already shuffling forward to rearrange their bodies for their clanmates' vigil. It would last all night, and then what? Shadow Clan still had no leader. The cats were silent, moving slowly as if their limbs had frozen, none quite meeting another's eye. The blood of these cats stains all our paws. Flowerstem alone seemed to have her voice. She wove among the stunned cats, comforting them, sending them to the fresh kill pile to eat. "We have to keep up our strength. There is still sickness in the air. No more cats must die." Quietly, she asked 2 of the senior warriors to take out hunting patrols with all the apprentices. There was no need for them to spend all day looking at these fallen warriors. Keep them busy, but battle training would not be appropriate, I think. Her clanmates nodded and led the younger cats silently out of the clearing. Then Flowerstem approached Redscar. Her eyes looked dull with shock, but she spoke calmly. "Is there anything I can do for you, Redscar? Fetch herbs or water?" Redscar shook his head. There was nothing any cat could do. "I'll be in my den," he told her, and headed for the thicket of hawthorn that screened his nest and his store of herbs. He stumbled into his nest, feeling many seasons older than he had when he last lay down, and closed his eyes. "Redscar! Redscar, wake up!" He opened his eyes. He was lying in a clearing among beech trees, their branches black and sharp against the snow-colored sky. The grass beneath him was crisp and cold. He jumped up, shivering. "Redscar, you must find a new leader for Shadow Clan." "Snowstar?" The gray cat nodded. "I have been watching my clan, and I grieve for every one of my cats. Most of all for Bright Whisker, who would have been a great leader, and for Jumpfoot and Mossfire, who let ambition cloud their senses and sharpen their claws. You must put this right, my friend." "What can I do?" Redscar wailed. "You will choose a new leader," Snowstar meowed. And that cat must choose a deputy at once. A clan must never be left like this again, a headless creature that wades into blood because it cannot see. At the next gathering, the new leader must introduce a new rule for the warrior code. Deputies must be replaced by Moon High, so a leader will never be alone for more than half a day. Now tell me, who would you choose as your next leader?
Red Scar started to protest that he wouldn't choose, but the look in Snowstar's eyes silenced him.
Flower Stem, he meowed. She watched her sister die in front of her, but her only thoughts were to make the clan feel safe and keep them occupied before tonight's vigil. A wise choice. So tell the clan.
Red Scar stared at him. Why should they listen to me? I've done nothing for them. Nothing. Snowstar narrowed his eyes.
You're their medicine cat. They will listen to you if you use the right words.
The beech trees were looking paler now, blurring against the white clouds. Snowstar was fading too.
Go now, Red Scar, he called. Appoint Flower Stem as the new leader of Shadow Clan.
Red Scar blinked, and he was back in his nest with a crow feather tickling his ear. He shook his head irritably. The clan was in turmoil. They must think their warrior ancestors had given up on them. No words, but maybe an action. He padded into the clearing. The camp was quiet and deserted, apart from the bodies of Mossfire and Jumpfoot lying in the shelter of some dry bracken. He slipped out of the camp and trotted to a place where an oak tree grew on ground that was less marshy than the rest of the territory. Mossfire and Jumpfoot would be buried near here. At the foot of the tree, sheltered from the wind, grew a bunch of delicate white flowers, the color of snow and the shape of raindrops. Checking there were no cats around, he nipped one of the snowdrops off at the base of its stalk. Laying it on the ground, he pulled off the smooth white petals, leaving just the stem. Then he curled it up and pushed it into a clump of moss that he dug up from underneath a tree root. Picking up the moss in his teeth, he headed back for the camp. No cat would question a medicine cat fetching moss. It was used for bedding as well as to carry water. When he returned to the camp, there were far more cats around. The hunting patrols had come back with a fair haul of fresh kill, and pale sunlight had tempted their clanmates out to eat. Red Scar nodded to one or two as he crossed the clearing. As he passed the fallen log used by leaders to address the clan, he relaxed his grip on the moss and felt the snowdrop stalk spring out. Quick as lightning, he dropped the moss and kicked it with his paw so that it rolled underneath a hawthorn, out of sight. "Look!" he cried, gazing down at the pale green stem lying at his paws. It was as slim as a whisker, still quivering from where it had uncurled. "Did any cat bring this into camp?" His clanmates gathered around.
"It's a snowdrop stalk. They only grow by the oak tree, right?"
mewed one of the apprentices. Red Scar lifted his head and faced them. His paws were shaking, but he sank his claws into the earth to keep them still. "It's a sign from StarClan," he announced. "They want us to know their choice for the new Shadow Clan leader."
"Who?"
gasped a she-cat plump with kits. Red Scar touched the stalk with his paw. "Flower Stem." There was a gasp, then murmurs of agreement. The ginger and white she-cat was pushed to the front of the cats. She looked dazed. I don't know what to say," she began. "Just say we'll lead us, as StarClan wishes," meowed Red Scar. Flower Stem looked down at the snowdrop stalk, then over her shoulder at her motionless sister. "To honor Mossfire's memory, and Jumpfoot's. Yes, I will." She dipped her head as joyful yowls rose around her. Maybe StarClan had needed Red Scar's help to send this sign, but it was what Snowstar wanted, and he would tell Flower Star to choose her deputy before the moon reached its height, in front of the bodies of her fallen clanmates, and Bright Whisker, so that their spirits would hear and approve her choice. "Thank you, Snowstar," he whispered.